The seventh episode of Sakamoto Days Part 2, which is titled Kanaguri, was published on Monday, August 18, 2025. The Order member and film director Kanaguri made his debut in the episode. The episode was packed with activity, showing the JCC candidates dealing with an unexpected trial as a result of Kanaguri's whims. In addition, Akira Akao, who successfully cleared the first exam, was the subject of Sakamoto Days, Episode 7. Sakamoto also appreciated Akira's composure, which helped them cross the finish line. In general, TMS Entertainment has done a good job of replicating the dramatic moments from Yuto Suzuki's manga. Part 2, Episode 7 of Sakamoto Days, which continues from the previous episode, begins with a flashback in which Shin Asakura pleads with Sakamoto not to assist him during the transfer test, as he wants to put his skills to the test without relying on him. The story then reverts to the present and centers on the conflict between Shin and Mafuyu. By reading Mafuyu's movements early, Shin is able to avoid his attacks. He eventually pulls out a gun and demands that he give him the bullets. Shin Asakura claims he doesn't murder children, but Mafuyu advises him to do it quickly. Mafuyu is just 14 years old, according to Chapter 7 of the second episode of Sakamoto Days. Mafuyu's desire to join the JCC and network in order to become an Order member is something that Shin Asakura learns. But Shin tells him that only natural talent, not connections, will get him into the Order. He gives him a bullet with which to pass the first exam. Akira Akao has trouble handling her weapon elsewhere when Taro Sakamoto instructs her on how to use it properly. She claims that a relative taught her how to handle firearms. The test administrator, on the other hand, believes the sound of a gun must be positive. The administrator faces Sakamoto and Akira after harshly rejecting several candidates. The test administrator is none other than Kanigori, one of the Order members, who is also a film director, as stated in Episode 7 of Sakamoto Days Part 2. Since he can get some excellent footage, Kanaguri is happy that he applied to be a JCC test administrator. In the meanwhile, a statement states that 297 out of 360 candidates have been removed. The announcer also predicts that the trip will take around 30 minutes. In the meanwhile, the co-pilot questions the captain in the cockpit about his opinion of the year's test. The captain claims that he has never witnessed so many test administrators being eliminated. However, he also claims that it's really not their problem. Mafuyu Seba pursues Shin in a different scene from the Sakamoto Days Episode 7 and questions him about the reason he is taking the transfer exam. "It's none of my business," Shin says. Kanaguri now stands behind them and compliments their excellent expressions. Shin recognizes the test administrator as the film director, Kanaguri. Shin starts to describe how important of a figure Kanaguri is when Mafuyu doesn't comprehend what he's saying. Kanaguri is regarded as the pioneer of assassin films, as stated in the second installment of Sakamoto Days, Episode 7. But Mafuyu doesn't care about any of that and questions why a well-known director like him would be on the aircraft. According to Kanaguri, he is filming a movie and, by coincidence, he was involved in the transfer exam. He even invites Mafuyu to join him in his film. But Mafuyu dismisses it as a drag. Mafuyu would rather see brief films than lengthy, monotonous ones. Since he despises receiving disparaging comments about movies, Kanaguri becomes rage. He attacks Mafuyu with a lethal air. Using his foresight, Shin swiftly steps in front of Mafuyu and attempts to predict Kanaguri's next action. Nevertheless, Shin is perplexed by the fact that Kanaguri deviates somewhat from his planned motions. Taro Sakamoto shows up at this point in the 7th episode of Sakamoto Days Part 2 and shoots a bullet in Kanaguri's direction to stop him from killing Shin and Mafuyu. Taro Sakamoto and Akira's presence seems to catch Kanaguri off guard. He gives them a hard look and declares that he has discovered his perfect protagonist, who is none other than Akira. The 7th installment of Sakamoto Days Part 2 then centers on Kanaguri's conflict with Taro Sakamoto and Akira. The Order member hopes to give his movie a more distinct flavor. He believes that movies are all about capturing the moment. As a result, he unintentionally pulls the trigger, causing the aircraft to tilt slightly. But Kanaguri still senses something is wrong. As a result, he sets off a tremendous blast within the plane, causing the survivors to tumble. Usami, one of the main test administrators, deploys his parachute and ponders who might be to blame for the mayhem this time. The hiring of Kanaguri was opposed by another test administrator, as evidenced by his comments. In any case, Ms. Atu believes that this should just be regarded as the second part of the test. Usami then declares that the candidates must use at least one bullet to land safely. Meanwhile, some candidates seem certain of themselves, while others seem clueless. Even though they lack a parachute, they are attempting to find a method to live through the fall. Meanwhile, in the second half of Sakamoto Days, Episode 7, Taro Sakamoto releases a lot of air in order to get to Kanaguri, who is above him. He succeeds in striking Kanaguri and recovering the bullets he took from them. They are still unsure, however, on how to make a safe landing. Taro Sakamoto suddenly has an epiphany. He proposes using the apron or the clothing as a parachute to decelerate the fall. In the 7th episode of Sakamoto Days, Part 2, Akira Akao, meanwhile, wonders how she might be of assistance. She requests that everyone disrobe at this point. At her recommendation, they accomplish that, and in the middle of the air, she skillfully weaves the garments into a massive parachute. In the 7th episode of Sakamoto Days Part 2, Sakamoto and the others are shown coming to a safe landing in the water. Akira is rescued from drowning by Taro Sakamoto, who then pulls her ashore. Afterward, he hands her one of the rounds, telling her she has really earned it. At the conclusion of Episode 7 of Sakamoto Days, Part 2, Akira Akao happily accepts the bullet from Taro Sakamoto and completes the test's second section. The 7th episode of Sakamoto Days Part 2 centered mostly on the film's director and Kanaguri, an order member. The episode highlighted Kanaguri's distinctive character, which was motivated by a love of film. In addition, the episode highlighted the candidates for the JCC's presence of mind, as Akira Akao considered knitting the attire in midair. Overall, the show was full of action and hilarious occurrences. Hope you like this video. Stay tuned in this channel for latest upcoming updates on this series. And add a bookmark in this channel for further upcoming updates on movies, anime, and web series. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, comment and share our channel. And for latest updates, please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon.